I'm a logo designer.
Yeah.
Or now it's gone like it's not enough to be a logo designer. You have to be a brand strategist. And fucking hell. I mean,
thank you for being a pal.
What's up, pals, and welcome back to another week of Pentool Pals, the friendly graphic design podcast between two graphic designers. I'm Cole from Cole F Design.
And I'm Canvas Cam with Canvas Design Company. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for joining us on another week. We're super stoked to chat with you guys today about an awesome guest we have, MadebyJames.
Yeah, James is a very talented logo designer based out of the UK. He's done a lot of work for a lot of different companies. And he's done a lot of cool collabs with other companies that we'll talk about in this podcast too. But James is a super cool guy, super funny. I could see us being friends forever.
Friends forever.
Friends forever.
Pals forever.
Pals forever. There you go. But yeah, man. So we took a week off. And I think we needed it. We did 20 episodes just straight, 20 weeks of talking, editing, doing a bunch of art posts, keeping up with the Instagram. And I think, it was a good time to take a break for a week because I went to Portland and I got back and we were originally supposed to shoot an episode the very next morning early, and things didn't work out, which thankfully we took advantage of that and just decided let's just take a break.
Yep. And I'm off to Hawaii tomorrow, so I am pumped.
I bet. Hell yeah. So I go on vacation, Cole goes on vacation. We meet right here in the middle. But
we have lives outside of design and Pentool Pals as well. Yes. But up to you if you want to keep this in or not. Up to your discretion.
We'll keep it. I needed my trip, man. I went to Portland for 5 days. It was the longest trip I think I've ever taken. But also it was a trip. It was one of my first out of state trips with my friends that wasn't a work trip. But it was I worked a little bit, but it was a really well needed trip. I took a lot of inspiration from my surroundings, and I've come home and I've just been kind of trying to play catch up. But you need to breathe. You need to let your brain breathe for a little bit, or you're just gonna get flattened out like a pancake. You're gonna be putting out work that you're not really passionate about. And so I definitely needed that little reset.
Breaks are good. Breaks are important. I don't know about you, but I used to, during COVID, I would work. We're still in COVID, but during that period where I'm working from home and still am working from home, I'd be going to get a protein bar for lunch and working through lunch and sitting at my desk. And now I've realized how toxic of an environment you can create for yourself. And
for sure,
to just be all through the day, never get up. So it's so important. Go take a break every day, get off your desk, go eat lunch outside, get away from all of it, get your, headspace right. And even if it just takes going to the bathroom so that you can just take another look at the logo that you just made or designed in another spot. It's always super important. Headspace.
Yeah, I definitely did the same thing at the beginning of quarantine, man. I definitely packed on that COVID 50 but maybe not that much weight, but I definitely packed on weight because I couldn't separate myself, and I'm kind of having to relearn to get outside, go do some extracurricular activity, go ride my bike or go to the gym or something like that that's gonna really get your brain functioning. All right, Cole, you ready to get James in the chat?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Hey, man. Hey, James, how you doing, man?
Are we going? Yeah, hello.
Are we going? Yeah. Just like that.
Just like that, straight in there. Yeah. So we are actually going, are we?
Yeah, we are actually.
Oh, right, sweet. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. We'll restart that so it's a little bit more seamless. But
yeah.
You like that? I'll keep that.
I quite like it.
All right, we'll keep it.
Yeah, we'll just keep it.
Hell yeah,
fresh.
Man.
But yeah, I'm good, chaps. How are you? You good?
Good.
No complaints here, man.
Yeah.
I'm glad Cam got his Zoom fixed, which is always
Me
good.
too. We had some
Yeah.
technical issues right before we were recording, but we're all good now.
Yeah.
We were jealous of James's background, and so I turned off my green screen, and I was gonna show my art on my wall, but I don't get to do that because my camera's a bitch.
No, you are not allowed.
I'm not allowed.
You are-
I'll show you after.
You really do have the dream office set up, James.
Yeah.
Everything is epic.
I say it's been a lot of years of collect. I mean, yeah, I'm a big believer in, like you guys, you know, if there's an artist I like, I'll go and buy something. You know, I think that's the only way. Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's enough just to kind of drop a like on Instagram or
No,
you know,
definitely
your work's great. You know, the only way artists and you know we're the same creatives. The only way creatives survive is if people buy our shit. So
100%. And the only people that are gonna buy our shit is other designers.
most of the time, yeah.
Hopefully not. Hopefully the whole world does. But
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I think other designers. I think designers appreciate other design no matter what it is. And I'm like you. I've collected and bought off loads of people, so all around the world. So
I've definitely given Dave Quiggle a pretty penny of mine for all of his artwork that's on my walls. I've been collecting his art, but I've been collecting posters and stuff like that for forever. So I'm right there with you, bud.
Well, it's like the dream, isn't it? Like you kind of grow up, you know, and you know you're not allowed to put shit on the wall because your parents don't let you. And they don't let you draw on the wall either, which I found out the wrong way. You know, so over time, I was said to myself, you know, when I get to a stage where I've got my own office and I get all of my stuff, you know, mounted, framed properly, because once you do it once, you know, it should last forever. So it's kind of been a lot of collecting, a lot of time and effort, but you know, getting to work in a space like this is much better than staring at blank walls. So dig it.
Totally. You gotta put yourself in an environment where you're easily inspired.
Yeah. But like, some people quite like the cleanness. Some people quite like white space, no distraction. Whereas I'm like, you know, fucking if there's a gap, it's getting filled with something.
Oh, dude, for sure. My dyslexic ass, and I'm all over the place. Like I have to be looking at something.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic too. Welcome, club.
Yeah, high five.
High five. I was hoping that wasn't going to turn your camera off.
I know, right?
Don't move too much.
Well, cool, man. So, thank you for coming on. Like, me and Cole, we talked about it the other day. We both, even outside of how long me and Cole have known each other, we've followed you on our own without suggesting one to one another. I've seen a lot of your work and I've seen a lot of your collabs with the, you know, Lincoln and stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of your work just in general and how you use your Instagram as a platform to kind of inform designers, you know, your structure, how you work, but also to be original. And you're not really that scared of going like, hey, stop stealing shit, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think, there's a bit, I mean, you know, the problem is if you put stuff out into the world, you know, I do often say, you know, I probably worry more when people stop stealing my shit, but, you know, I think it's, you know, I think there has got to be a point where it's, you know, especially, you know, creatives, you know, we've you know got the rough end of the deal because if it's good, people rip it off and then sell it, put it on a t-shirt. But you know, especially like some of the like I'm a massive fan like Adam Isaac Jackson and I Am Sloth Timmy Ham, and their stuff is getting ripped off daily and chucked on t-shirts, and these big companies are selling it and not giving them shit. And you know, I can only speak as a logo designer and a brand identity designer, whatever you want to fucking call it these days. But you know, for me, you know, certain accounts on Instagram using other creators' work to sell their own creative services is kind of pushing the boundaries. There are some great inspiration accounts out there that, you know, without logo inspirations, for example, I don't think I would have gained the traction that I have. You know, Jonathan's always been a good buddy of mine and helped me kind of grow. But there's this new breed of top knob that's happening. You know, it's kind of like, you know, just, you know, I even asked some of them to kind of whenever I see it now, I ask them to get rid of it, and then they just block me and keep using it anyway. So it's getting to this point where you just like, you know, I mean, you can't let it get you down. You've got to grind on and stuff, you know, but it is I mean, somebody's got to pipe up. So totally. I decide to to always be the one that does. So it's all right.
That's
There's
great.
loads of people
Yeah.
saying stuff. So.
No,
Yeah.
I've actually recently, like, I guess this is more or less off script, but I've had a couple of accounts repost my stuff, and then what they'll do is they'll like bog down your credits like all the way down, like at the very bottom note. And the first thing I would just say is to like follow their own account. So I'll message them and say, hey,
Yeah.
thanks for sharing, thanks for your, thinking of me or liking my artwork. But if you want to choose to post any of my artwork again, like please make sure to give proper credit in the first section, or else it feels disingenuous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that for me, it's sorry if my dog's barking, he's a proper
It's
dick.
all good. My dog's gonna bark.
Like a typical trend on
So, I mean, he hasn't barked all day, but now we're on here, he's going to bark all the time. But for
I've got my dog like right under my legs right now, so I think he's good not to bark for a while, but eventually he's gonna get up.
It'll happen. But the thing for me with those accounts, it's I like to break it down to like a simple thing of like intention. So what is their intention behind taking my work, your work, Cam's work, Cole's work, whoever it is? What's their intention behind that? Is it to promote the designer, or is it to get work for themselves? It's very obvious to know what their intention is by, like you say, where they put you. You know, if you want, hashtag follow me, DM me for work, all the other hashtags, and then work by MadebyJames. I mean, your intention is not to promote me.
It's to build your own page at the expense of all of these other designers, and you can usually tell how those pages are going to be like right off the bat, because like
of course
you'll see it, like the post will be like, what do you think of this? Be sure to follow this. And it's just like like Cole was saying, your name is at the very fucking bottom of the
But that's also the problem with it. I mean, Instagram needs to show up a little bit. I mean, they never will. But they could do a lot. If they can do an algorithm that's basically controlling the planet right now, they can weed out the wankers. Do you know what I mean? But they choose not to. So, it does start at the top. I always say that social media is not the problem; it's the people that are on it. So obviously, social media does have, the big guys, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it is. They have got things that they can do, but ultimately, if some twatbag wants to do something, say something, share something, it's them. They've got to. It's kind of got to stop there. But anyway, we're not going to talk about this.
I was going to say, I know that we can gossip and go around circles about whatever. But what we really want to do is learn more about you and hear your story. And we could kind of run it back and hear a bit more of how you got started. Were you always a designer, and what really engaged you to get into the design world?
Wow. Right. So
loaded question.
that is. So how was your life? I suppose like I've always been creative. I was never particularly what I would classify as like bright top of the class when it came to like maths, English, sciences, or anything like that. But I was always very sporty. Loved being outside, camping, all that kind of shit. And also, for me, the creative side, I was never like a brilliant creative. I was never like the best painter, the best drawer. But whenever I kind of walked into that class or got my sketchbook out, I always felt like it was something that, I could hold my own, because art, it's every one person's art as another person's not art. I don't even know the saying, but you know what I mean? So whatever I did, it was still good for me because I enjoyed it. And it didn't matter if nobody else liked it. Whereas like 4 + 4 can't equal 10, and I was obviously not that good at maths. I always kind of grew up creatively and ended up, late teens. I got kicked out of school, ended up doing loads of drugs, messed my life up quite bad. Left home at 17. Spent 2 years doing everything that I could pay for and get my hands on. And then basically woke up one day, about 19, early 20s, and kind of thought, what the shit am I doing? It's waking up and needing some sort of drug, alcohol, or whatever it was to kind of get by was, it was never kind of like super bad, but it was pretty bad, So basically from there, I decided to kind of get back into art. I was like, what can I do to kind of break this habitual shitty routine that I've got myself into? So I kind of got myself into like the local art college to do like an art foundation. I don't know if you guys have that, but it's kind of like a year's art course where you do like sculpture, graphic design, fine art, textiles. You basically kind of do a little bit of every, like a term, or like a few weeks or 6 weeks on each thing, and then at the end of it, you kind of like go and chat to your tutor, and they're like, "Well, you're shit at this." You know, I always wanted to be an artist. You know, I always wanted to kind of. After that, I wanted to do fine art. That was my. You know, I wanted to draw, and my tutor, you know, I probably should give him a beer, because you know he kind of said, "Look, have you ever?" heard of graphic design or tried graphic design like before doing it here? And I was like, no, you know, it was not something I thought, but he's like, maybe give that a go. So from there, I think it was because like, even when I was doing art, I was never super expressive, because I like grew up like kind of copying like comic books and comic book characters and trying to get them exact, you know, proportions were shit, but you know, trying to kind of do them from sight, you know, never tracing, always trying to do it from sight. So I think that kind of detailed.
One pack is like way bigger than the other pack.
Like their faces like this.
Always faces for me. I could never get it right.
I mean, I still can't. I mean, that's why I do logos, because you know, it's a lot easier. So
it's funny you say that, because I do a lot of illustration work now, but like what got me into logo work was the fact that I was a really shitty illustration artist when I was 18.
I've basically gone from what is the simplest thing to draw.
Yeah.
So I've gone from like proper crazy art down to like, oh, something this big, fantastic, let's rock. So basically, kind of from there went and did a diploma, what was called an HND, high national diploma, which is like before university or whatever. Did that, and then that got me onto like the second year of uni. So I thought, not really ready to kind of go out into the big wide world yet. So did that. I mean, I learned nothing really when it comes. I mean, I learned more in 6 weeks of a design agency job than I did in 3 to 4 years of education. Easy. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't ever diss education, because I think it does do things like it helps you with, you know, especially when it comes to design, it helped me with things like timelines, you know, being able to kind of talk to people and work in a team, you know, work on slightly different things from just what I wanted to do, you know, so they had different structures and products. So there are great things, but when it came to like the business side of it, and like, you know, basically in my final year of uni, I got a job at a local design agency. And kind of blew my mind to kind of like say, like, you know, I am, you know, doing nothing in this uni thing, and learning so much just on the job, talking to clients. So trying to cut it slightly short. So 5 years at that agency, then started MadebyJames with mate AD. Then 5 years ago, decided to mess around with this MadebyJames thing, just kind of share process, logos. You know, I always loved logo design, but I was never seeing anybody kind of, you know, show like, how did you get from like nothing to like something, you know, because I think that's the fun bit. Yeah, you can look at a logo and go, that's freaking brilliant, but how did you get from nothing to something? I always thought that was quite an interesting thing, and obviously my process of drawing, note taking kind of lended it to that, so I started sharing more, and now we're here talking to you. So and that's it.
What I love about your logo process posting is that it shows why you should pay the amount the designer is charging, because a lot of people just think like, oh, here's your logo, I just took a dump on the table, it was that quick. And you know, when I look at your posts, your whole post, it's a very time consuming thing, I'm sure, because you have to you hand draw all of the type, and then you show like all of the little all your sketches and stuff like that. There is one you posted the other day where it was like you literally on camera wrote out the words and stuff like that. I was like, the amount of like thought you put into each post is like amazing to me, because I have a hard time. I'll post a graphic and I get stuck on the copy, like the caption, and I'm like, what do I say? And I look at how much thought you put into the actual visual of yours, and I'm just like, I overthink too much.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely do. I mean, what I always call myself is, well, I don't call myself, it sounds like a right wanker then, but I always like to think of myself as more of a storyteller than a logo designer. And I think, and some of the best, most well-respected, most seen logos in the world, there is a story behind them. We might not necessarily know the details that went into it, but stuff that doesn't happen. And to be fair, like, I've always been, I wouldn't say like the gift of the gab, but I've always found it quite easy to communicate, as long as, it took me a long time to be comfortable with who I was. I spent a lot of time very uncomfortable with who I was. And like I said, messing up, being kicked out, and worked very hard on myself, and, found this niche of logo design, which is what I love. And, I realized that I don't have to pretend to be anybody anymore. So that as soon as I stopped pretending to be something I'm not, like the words just came out, the process, the style, the vibe, whatever it is, I find it super easy being myself. I mean, that's what it, I think that was when people like really, really struggle with like their own identity. It's because they're trying to be something that they're not. They're trying to be something that a course has told them they should be, or what they see by somebody else doing it over here. I want to be like them. And I think, it's important to, have, peers and people you look up to and people that you respect. But I think what you should do is you should watch what they do and then do it in your own way.
100%.
So I think, there's such this, especially with social media now. I mean, we can't go on about it, but it's the information. So, I mean, I grew up in a design world with no social media. The best thing that's ever happened to me.
That's
and anybody in my generation, there was no Instagram. So it was kind of, lots of face-to-face talking, lots of going to meetings, lots of working in a team. Whereas now, like, it's about being a freelancer. And now coming out of college, and then going straight into freelance, where, for me, it was always going into an agency. But, everybody's like talking about, I'm a logo genius, entrepreneur, content creation master. You can check out their bios. Do you know what I mean? Everybody's trying to be the thing that everybody's expecting them to be, or what's in. Logo design wasn't cool when I started. Logo design wasn't that cool. 8 years ago, but now. Because obviously people are talking about the money you can make, what you can do, and everybody suddenly, I'm a logo designer. Or now it's gone like, it's not enough to be a logo designer, you have to be a brand strategist. And fucking hell, I mean, it's like if you're constantly kind of following trends and following what other people are doing, you're never going to have a career doing anything. So you can look at my feed. I've been posting the same fucking crap for the last 6-7 years. I've always been a designer, not looking to be a brand strategist. If anything, I fucking hate brand strategy. I think it's boring as fuck doing all that. Obviously there are bits and pieces I do to kind of get the information, from my clients. There are calls, there are sessions, there are questionnaires, briefs that I can get all the information. But you've also got to kind of know your audience. So, what's my average kind of price per project is like between 2 and 5K, So I'm not trying to chase those 15, 20, 30K brand projects because that's not my thing. If I can be smashing out, 100 odd projects at, let's say, an average of 3.5K, money's not too bad as a logo designer. So, and I think that's what people get so caught up on, like how much they should be charging and, all this kind of stuff. And I think I've like 5 years ago, I was charging like 400 quid for a logo. Now I'm charging a lot more, but that's come from doing over 500 logos and living it, breathing it for the last, and obviously I was probably undercharging, but I didn't start at 3K and then go down to 2,800 and then realize nobody's getting my work. Or I might get one job a year at 2.8K, but can you live off £2,800 a year. I don't think so.
Really,
but yeah,
like that gets into a lot of things too when it comes to like the maturity of a graphic designer. And like,
yeah,
I feel like when you're like 16, 17, 18, you feel so much older than you actually are, and you think that you can take on the world and that you're ready.
Yeah.
You may not need school, you may not, whatever, you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
Just like you said about how once you get into an agency, you learned more in like 6 weeks than you did in 3 years. Like everything you do in graphic design is still progression. Like I learn every day more and more, and I just feel like 1 year goes by and I just look at myself a year prior and realize how much of a change that was. And I think that that's continuing throughout like everything, right? And so when it comes to like charging a lot for a logo or charging a lot for a brand or whatever you're getting requested for, like you'll agree, it's just showing the value is also with that communication. It's showing them what they're getting, and you do that so well in a lot of your posts about your process. You know, you're really describing and showcasing like every step of the way of what someone gets.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, and you know, I mean, people might see it like as like I'm just doing it for designers, but do you know how being so open and honest about my process, do you know how much work that gets me, all the work that I get? Because there's no, you know, I'm open and honest about how I do it. I share it on YouTube, like I show how I think, you know, but I don't pitch for work. People come to me and go, I know your process, I love it, let's go. What's the price? There's none of this. So what's this? How does that work? I'm actually, the content I put out is both for me mainly, obviously, and the young designers or any designer or any creative or anybody who wants to read it, but also for my clients, they can go, yeah, this guy lays it out on the table. There is no stone unturned. You know, I did my my whole logo process post the other day, my SOW, my statement of work, you know. So anybody who's looking at my content, you know, people do search Instagram for logo designers, they can go, shit, this is how he works, great, I'm happy with that. And if you're not happy with it, we shouldn't be wasting time talking anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's both for designer and client. Everything I put out has that kind of double-edged sword or symbiotic, whatever you want to call it. It kind of works for both getting clients and helping people, which is why I love it, you know, because I just post what I post and it helps both sides of my business. So
for sure,
yeah, it's fucking cool. I love my job.
Yeah, that's kind of why I post like my progression stuff on stuff. I do it every once in a while, but it's like I post it so because I know designers are starting to like, you know, I'm starting to build traction on my Instagram with designers, but my Instagram is for both. It's for the clients as well, so that they can come and see my process, so I don't have to explain it to them. You know, but still every once in a while I'll get one person that goes like, so how's this gonna work? Where do we start? And I'll show them a sketch and like, I thought it was gonna be more done than this. I'm like, it's a sketch. Like, didn't you see?
I mean, everybody's got a process, haven't they? At the end of the day, I mean, my process will be different from yours, Cam, and from yours, Cole. But you know, it's not. There isn't a right. I mean, this is the other thing, you know, that I think is really important for people to understand. There isn't a right way and a wrong way when it comes to creativity. It's whatever works for your personal process and how you physically want to work with people and your client and all the rest of it. So there's no right or wrong way to create. You know, this isn't like it's not like, for example, like a game of football, you know, there's a winner and a loser, you know, at the end of the game, unless they draw. That's probably a really shit kind of analogy. But you know, basically when it comes to kind of creating an art, you know, what my style won't suit every person who wants a logo, you know, and nor should it, you know. And also, like, the way I create stuff will be very different from the way you can create stuff. You know, I like to kind of do one logo and then take that all the way to a finished article, get it vectored up, get it mocked up and all the rest of it, and then share that, rather than sharing like a load of sketches, you know. But everybody works in a different way. And I think that's what's beautiful around, you know, I have clients who come to me and go, so what's the process? I go, well, I kind of put full ass into one idea, you know, rather than I say half-ass a load of ideas. And they're like, oh, we'd prefer to kind of get loads of sketches. I said, that's absolutely fine, you know, but that's if you want the work that I do, this is my process. And I think that's another thing, is control. I think designers need to learn to be, not dictators by any means, but be more in control of the creative process, because the only way you can know how to charge, to price, how long does stuff take you, is to kind of follow your process routinely over a certain amount of time to then know how you can price stuff. If one project's taking you 45 hours and another one's taking you 100 hours because your process is like, how do you know? One day you might be making $10 an hour, the next day you might be making 20. I don't know, but and I think that's the process is such a key thing, and the most important thing when it comes to pricing as well, which I know a lot of people struggle with, especially designers.
I think that also rolls into something that I loved what you had said the other day when you were on Logo Inspirations. I'd love to chat about it and what the difference between an artist is versus a designer. And you had a really good answer.
What was that?
You said how the artist is selfish, more or less.
And selfless.
Exactly. And
thank you. I talk a lot, so I don't actually remember. I can't remember what I said 20 minutes ago, to be fair.
But I'm right there with you, dude.
But it is like you say. When it comes to art and design, as you say, like you were saying there, Cole. It's like, I've got this art on the wall because I love it for me. It's personal to me. But there might be some people look at that and go, why the fuck would you put that on your wall? Whereas a logo, for example, has to do a job for somebody. It's got an objective, subjective, objective, or whichever way you want to look at it. Kind of design has to be selfless. It can't be about me or you when you're doing it. It has to be about, what's the need? Who's it trying to hit? What's the target audience? I do logos for kids clothing companies and cupcake shops. It's not really me, but I can't just kind of start smashing like tattoo script and stuff, and all that kind of shit in there. But and that's what I kind of love about the job, is every brief has different humans and different needs and different problems that need to be solved. And that's where I think I think you can be an artist who turns into a designer, think like an artist, but execute like a designer, I think is something else I said. And I say it's so true, because I think some people get too designer minded. Right, it needs to follow the golden ratio, and it needs to have a grid, and it needs to do this, and it needs to do that. And you know what? If I started with a grid, I would have given up logo. I would own a cupcake shop now. That's what I would be doing.
They call it
you've got to let it go wherever you can possibly go, and then rein it back in. Think, right, application, where's it going to go? So
if you're gonna cage the art right off the bat, you've already kind of lost it. Like I do art because I want to express myself and be free. If I'm gonna live by this dumb golden ratio, like I'm already gonna be over it. I'm gonna move on.
I've never used it.
I've never used it either. It just I saw this one post the other week and it was so stupid. It was the golden ratio and it was folding and collapsing and reshaping, and it was like there's some things behind it, and I was just like, I don't.
What is this?
That
was
So you just look. You see these posts and people. I sometimes people put the golden ratio over their logos, and I go, that doesn't even fit the golden ratio.
Exactly.
I've seen that too. I'm like, all right.
What's going on?
Something that was so enticing to me about design in general was because when I was working at an agency job, or even before that, where I thought I wanted to go into like an activewear brand, where you'd be doing the same exact work every day and run out of juice after a while. And like, just like you said about like making a cupcake brand, it might not be our cup of tea kind of thing, right? Like we wouldn't necessarily vibe with that sort of vibe and feel. But for me, at least, like I get excited about trying to work in a new space and do something different, because at least it keeps the gears turning. And we're still getting to be creative and do something we might have never made for ourselves. But
and that's why I think it's like super important to kind of, you have a style, but there are a lot of designers that will live by that style, and if anything comes in that doesn't quite fit in that safety net, whereas I think it's important for designers not to kind of niche themselves into a corner. Logo design is a niche. And obviously it's important to have a style and a vibe because that's what people get attracted to. But personally, I like to think that I can work to any brief. I mean, there's certain things I won't do. There are certain companies I won't work with, but I think the fun part of me is like a brief coming down and into my email box or whatever, and me looking at it going, shit, that's a toughie. Do I want to do it? And if I think that is going to be the best project ever, because it pushes me further than the comfort zones are dangerous. I could sit and do freaking geometric logos all day, every day. And I'll tell you what, I'd be sick to shit of it, which is why I love playing with type and doing hand-drawn stuff, then doing some clean stuff, but, all related to the person, the project, and what it needs to do. And I think, sometimes I see people and it's just the same stuff over and over and over. And you look through their feed and you just think, there is nothing here that's exciting me anymore. Absolutely. Exactly. The first one I saw was great, but now on 400 of the same logos that are being sold on some site somewhere, you think, oh, God, crikey,
seriously.
But each their own, each their own.
For sure. It kind of breaks my heart when I come across like a really talented designer and they get stuck in this pigeonholed space of just doing the same thing consistently. It's like I have and I've said this a few times, like I've rested around 2,000 to 4,000 followers for the last like few years, and I know how to grow my Instagram, but I don't want to be boring with my Instagram. And I post, all of my work is so different. Like I could do some illustration type logo that works really small and it's got multiple colors and stuff, or I could do just a small little one color icon logo. And, that's the diversity in my Instagram. And so when it breaks my heart to see like some of these designers just get stuck, and then they wonder, like they'll get a little Instagram bite by one of these pages, and then they'll get a bunch of followers, and then they just become stagnant and stuck because they feel like they have to stay there because that's what they got success on Instagram, which doesn't necessarily turn into money and jobs for them. It just turned into a bunch of followers, and it's like I don't want my Instagram to become that. I don't want my Instagram to become this thing to where it's like it's stale.
No, and this is the what I would call like magpie shiny object syndrome. Obviously the invention of the carousel has been a massive contributor to growth, huge growth for people. But there are people who claim to be logo designers and brand identity designers who have no logo work on their whole feed. It's all logo trends of 2020, how to choose colors, and there are basically billions of people doing the same shit. And, and then they message me, they've got 50,000 followers and go, I'm not getting any logo work, and I think, well, what the fuck? You're not sharing any fucking logo work. How do you expect it? Like you say, like you've got to share the work you want to get. I've been constantly sharing, at least 1 or 2 logos a week. Yes, I do chuck in some more mindset, like carousel stuff now and all the rest of it. But, that's kind of for me, because I'm kind of wanting to pivot into somebody who does help designers, with the book coming out and all this kind of stuff. I am a logo designer. Yeah, it's going to be shit hot. Hopefully, if not, it was fun doing it.
Hell yeah!
But the problem,
100%, you will see my name pop up on that order list, like 100%.
Good lad.
I'm waiting for that shit.
Yeah, it's going to be a goodie. But I mean, this is what happens. Like you say, people get, this my logo got 50 likes, but this carousel I did on some generic shit I read from somebody else, and just changed the color and put my name on it, got 150 likes. So what I'm going to do is because I like instant gratification, because that's the way the world is now, and we get likes and people like me. I want to chase that. But the problem is they get down this deep, deep rabbit hole. Yes, they might have, let's say 10,000 followers or grow their account really well. But anybody who's seeing their account is not a client. It's just somebody, another chump who's probably going to steal their content that they've already stolen and put their name on it. So I mean,
right.
I would always say to anybody, share the work you want to get. And I think it's so important. Yes, you might not get as many likes, or you might not get as many followers, but Instagram shouldn't be a business model. It should be a vessel to share ideas and work, and get inspiration, follow other cool accounts and follow other artists. But
100%.
Yeah, so many people fall into that trap, and I see it, and I giggle my heart away when all these people are growing their accounts. I'm thinking, well, I'm growing my bank account. How's your Instagram account?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Yeah.
So you brought up your book, and you've been making this thing for a while now, right? You want to talk about that?
No, not really.
Oh, really? Okay.
No, so
few months.
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah. So basically, that the beginning of the COVID malarkey that's happened. So what was that? Early March last year. Just before that, I got an email from Corto, who they're basically Rockport publishers. Corto bought Rockport publishers and all the rest of it. They reached out to me and said, "Do you want to write a book?" And I was like, trash, some fuckheads taking the piss out of me, what a load of bollocks. So like I generally do when people email me, if I don't know who they are, do my due diligence, check sites, URLs, and started to realize, hang on a minute, this is real. What's going on here? So basically spoke to the publisher, and they said, look, we've been following you for a while. We kind of like your attitude towards design, your personality, and the way that you're quite open about helping other designers. And we'd love for you to kind of get involved in writing a book. And I was like, okay, so how does that happen? So you kind of went, basically you go through like a process of like, they kind of say, right, put together the book that you would want to write. It's not like they don't give me ideas. They just say, put together like 7 or 8 chapters. What would you put in each chapter? How would you want to promote it? And all, what would you want to say and all that. So you basically kind of put together like a 10-page PDF of ideas and stuff. And they bit my arm off, which was really cool. So, because I never wanted it to be like a self-promotion book, because I don't think I'm not a finished article. I'm not even halfway through my career, but what I do feel I have got with like 18 years or so experience now is like some ideas of what I struggled with growing up in the design world. What did I want to know? How do I deal with negative clients? How do I come up with ideas? How do I price? So all these kind of little things that I've struggled with over the last 15, 18 years, especially over the last 10 years having my own agency, I've kind of bundled into this 227-page book.
That's awesome.
And I like to call it like it's going to be like your best friend in the good times and the bad. So if you've got a shitty client, you can go to the section on how to deal with negative clients. If you're struggling to come up with ideas, you can go and do like some practical workings, look at my case studies, or I kind of share some ideas about how I think about stuff and ideas. So hopefully it's going to become like a bit of an evergreen book that people, it's got some cool shit in it. It looks good. It's going to be fun, but there's also like a little brand Bible for like people or brand identity Bible that they can kind of go to if they're struggling or just want to laugh or want to look at my face. Obviously there's like a little bit of a background about me, but like 200 odd pages are just jam packed for like little tips and what I learned, what I failed, to hopefully stop other people. Basically every question I've been asked over the last 5 years on Instagram DMs is answered in there.
Every single person listening to this is going to appreciate that book, because that's exactly why they listen to this podcast. So
I think it should be. I said, like, I just hope it. I mean, even for me, even if it helps one person, 2 people, 10 people, 1,000 people, I think it's, there'll be something in there for everybody, I think.
Right.
And, it's $40, what's that, a week's worth of Starbucks coffee. So,
or
yeah.
depending on where you're at, a night's worth of booze.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Or one cocktail down the local boozer. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it.
When is the release date?
November. I think it drops on Amazon 16th. I think I get them early November because I've got some to sign and like send to people. So sorry.
Anyone watching, set your calendars for
November.
Set
your countdown. Don't worry about that. I'll be spamming the shit out of you 6 weeks before.
There you go. We can we'll even promote it on the show when it comes out.
That'd be awesome. We'll do another podcast. We'll do another one.
Hell yeah.
Maybe we'll do a book launch podcast. That'd be
boom.
Fun.
There you go. That's an idea.
We'll do that.
I'm always a firm believer, kind of going back to the supporting other designers and supporting, your friends and stuff. Because I've got, Draplin's book, I've got Contino's book, and I've become a sponge for the design world, because it's like anybody who puts out any useful content, I want to absorb it. I want to learn. And, that's kind of the basis of this podcast. Is Cole and I, we've had our fair share of years of experience in this industry so far. And so we just kind of want to give it away and talk about the things so that up and coming designers, they can at least figure out a way to get past those hurdles a little bit faster than we did. And it kind of sounds what your book is about. And I love that. So I can't wait.
Yeah, knowledge can only be called knowledge if it's shared. There's no point it dying with us. I said, growing up, especially for me, like even 15, it was quite a different, artists were always kind of had each other's back. Do you know what I mean? But with the rise of social media, people talk about money, business. Yeah, it's become quite, I wouldn't say fragmented, but it kind of seems to have lost its kind of community-based, helpful, yes, mate, well, let's jump on a call and I'll talk you through your portfolio. I do it loads of times. But, it seems to, because money creates competition. And people think because they're in competition, they can't share thoughts or ideas. And, it's sad, because it has kind of gone that way. But, hopefully myself and you guys keep doing what you're doing. It might, go back, where people are actually giving information freely, no charge, and that's, obviously there will be things that we get paid for our work. I'm going to do a logo course. That will be a paid thing. The book will obviously, I can't just do it for free, so it will be a paid
why
book.
not? Why does this thing cost money?
Yeah, you used to do it all for free on Instagram. Why are you now charging?
Coloring book, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I get a lot of those people. Don't you worry about that.
I know.
But that's the thing. The problem, people expect stuff for free. People will ask me a question, I'll answer it, then I won't hear from them. And I think, you cheeky little fucker, I've just gone out of my way to reply to you and tell you what I've done, and I won't hear from them until 3 months later when they got another question.
Yeah, exactly.
Go fuck yourself, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
So I will help everybody to a point, but all it takes is a please and a thank you, and I'll do anything for anybody.
I'm the same exact way.
Yeah,
it's just like, don't be a dick and ghost me when I give you my useful information.
But that's the way, people are just so used to getting stuff for free and not having to worry, pay for it. When people pay for stuff, they respected it. But now everything's given for free. It's kind of like, well, why would I pay $300 for a course when I can just go on Instagram and get it for free? And they don't understand the extra value that's involved in stuff. But you're always going to get that. You're always going to get them.
It's like the DM that comes in, it just says like, need a logo, like period.
Oh yeah, I just block. That's what I do now.
I don't just block right away. I'll bombard them with questions so that they're annoyed back.
Yeah.
What they
I'll
did
tell you
give
what-
me, I'm gonna give them.
Yeah, my favorite one I get quite a lot is do you design logos? That's my favorite one.
Did you even fucking look at my page?
I mean, that you want to work with me so much that you don't even know if I do logo work.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I mean, who
Because-
are you messaging? Just like architects and
Yeah.
like hairdressers.
Oh,
And
yeah.
My favorite is when like it's old friends. They'll come up. Do you design logos? It's like, bro, do you see the stuff that
What's
I'm
it-
doing? Like,
yeah.
have you looked?
Yeah,
That's
it also
mad.
bugs me when if like someone will ask like a legitimate like inquiry for a logo, and then you'll run through everything with them, ask them what they're looking for, and then at the end where you give them pricing and then just don't hear from them. I wish they would just say like, thank you so much for answering these questions and like whatever, but it's a little bit out of my price range, because 99% of the time, if you are a good human being during that whole discussion beforehand, I'll be like, well, what's your budget? We can work with it and scale back my proposal and, figure out a way for this project to work. But for some reason,
exactly.
I don't get it.
I mean, there's people, but a lot of these people you've got to remember are also fishing for prices. A lot of these people probably aren't clients. They're trying to find, they're probably designers trying to find out what other people are charging. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But
I get that shit all the time, especially after we started the podcast.
Yeah.
I'll have people randomly going like, "Hey Cam, what are your rates?" And I'm like, "Well, I can't exactly tell you that because that's a really loaded question there."
Exactly. Yes, and that's the other thing, isn't it? Like people just think like logo design is this much.
Yeah.
There are so many variables.
Oh, it's not $100.
Yeah.
Oh,
seriously.
God.
And half of the time, I hate to bust your balls, person on Instagram, but what I charge is not what you could charge for. You're starting out, bud. Like,
exactly, and that's the thing. It does come down to value, experience, and all the rest of it. So, and obviously deliverables. I mean, some people might deliver certain different things. I have tiered packages for logo design. Some don't involve brand books, some involve more, some involve social, some blah 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 blah. So it's like, how much do you charge? It's like, depends on the project, mate. But so it goes between here and here. I like to say like between £200,000 and £100,000. And then they're like, oh, then they're like, oh, yeah.
I know that we could talk about this subject, for years, but what I'd love to rope this back into is sharing some of your work and seeing, a couple of your projects that you've worked on in the past, and maybe talk through some of that if you're okay with it.
I am game for anything.
Let's go through some of these and hear kind of the story and background and
sweet. Well, you hit it and I'll talk.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see. How about this one?
So this was basically just a little tutorial about how to mess around with negative. I mean, I get a lot of kind of comments about, because obviously I like to work with a lot of negative space, but people don't really know how to start. So this is like a super simple tutorial that I've kind of put together, and I use quite a lot when I'm just doodling in my sketchbook. It's like just starting with like a rectangle and then thinking of a letter, like in this case HES, and then what comes. So obviously I went with hands and eyes and smiles because I was on the body, obviously thinking about that. And then obviously using those shapes and elements to create the letters that I'm talking about. It's a super simple, I think this exercise took me about 15 minutes in total, and that was to even write that shit at the top and the bottom. So something that you can do super simply just to kind of practice and play with negative space, because it's such a valuable tool, I think, in design.
Totally.
So that's that.
All right, and that's that. Tell me when to stop, and then we can hit that.
You just hit whatever you want. Let's go for.
Let's go here.
This is the beast, the logo process.
Yeah.
So this is this is something that every designer has a different process. And everybody is super secretive about their process and all the magic that happens behind closed doors. So
Yeah.
I kind of thought, I know I haven't shared it. I kind of share it through my posts and of podcasts and all the rest of it, but I never really kind of put like a whole post together, and it's quite difficult to do in 10 slides as well, by the way.
I can imagine.
Of the different stages I go through to kind of, from like basically when I get a client email me or DM me to basically what they get at the end, and the process, step-by-step process of go to creating ideas and all the rest of it. But yeah, I think again, it's just whether people agree with it, whether people do some of those bits, don't do some of those bits, or can take some of those bits out of it. I think it's quite interesting to see what other designers do, especially like I kind of talk about like going from like doodles to refining my idea to, this is what we're talking about, Cam, kind of presenting a idea rather than a load of ideas, and just kind of talks people through like, what happened, for example, this slide, what happens when it's right or wrong, and obviously kind of mention the SOW here about they agree to like 4 rounds of revisions. I just think it's quite an interesting, looking at logos is great, but I quite like that kind of, the back end stuff, especially for a young designer who's starting out and goes, well, where do I freaking start with logo design? What should my process, do I just go straight into Illustrator, or should I draw, or should I do this or do that? How, inspiration, how do I get ideas? And I think that post kind of helps them, at least get some insight about how I personally work. And I say, if they can take one element out of that, or look at it and go, I don't like it, it's kind of a winner. So
totally.
Yeah, process is power. That's what I like to say there.
Hell yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I really like when you post stuff like that, because it just has so much insight. And the simplest of thing that you could say is probably something that someone's not thinking of. And,
I mean, that's I always like to, what my wife always tells me is I should assume no prior knowledge. As designers, we probably think that everybody knows this shit. Everybody knows this, but whenever I'm trying to talk, I try and break it down as if nobody knows. Because then everybody will know. Some people will, but some people won't. So this is my collab with Mr. Tillman, Carl Tillman. He is freaking brilliant. He's been a good buddy of mine for a while. Was on his podcast a couple of years ago, I think it was now.
What's the name of this podcast?
Panic. I can't fucking think about that now. But if anybody wants to know, just DM me and I'll tell you.
There you go.
Sorry, Mr. Tillman. But yeah, it's a really cool guy.
Oh yeah.
And because I don't often get a chance to kind of work. Obviously, I'm always working on other people's brands and all the rest of it, and I do a lot of kind of back end stuff, strategy, and sometimes I feel like my personal brand isn't kind of going where I want it to go. So what I do is I find artists I like and find people that I think can get my ideas and understand where I want to take. I mean, all this will be freaking merch, everything one day, but I'm kind of getting it rather than you can't do it all, basically. Like Tillman stuff and like the Lincoln Boys stuff that they did for me. That is not my vibe. I love it. I absolutely love it, but it's not my bread and butter. I can go up against anybody logo design wise and probably hold my ground. But when it comes to like building like flash sheets or assets or creating weird cool types or like cool like old school kind of tattoo girls, I mean, that is Lincoln and Carl, Mr. Tillman stuff. I mean, and that's why collaboration is awesome, especially when it comes to your personal brand, because I can do what the fuck I want. And that's what I love about it.
That's it's funny because I didn't even think about the whole collaboration thing with other like design companies or other designers until Lincoln did your stuff a few years ago. I was like, it won incredible work.
Fantastic.
And this is something I've been wanting to talk about this whole time. What prompted you to? Did they approach you or did you approach them about like, hey, I want you guys to design me some stuff? They play a big part in my book, to be fair, because when I was growing up as a designer and when I started Baby Giant, they were the people I wanted to be. I thought I've got to
rather than I'm out of this kind of stuffy corporate agency world, I'm creating my own agency that can do anything and be anything it wants to be. And I've looked up to them for decades, really. Definitely over a decade, probably close to 15 years. Big fan of Dan and the chaps there. Just loved everything, the way that everything, when you look at something and you can just go Lincoln.
Yep.
And that's what I kind of thought. One day I want people to look at my stuff and go, Made by James. And so basically what I did was I followed them for ages, got the, obviously I bought a load of stuff from them. We kind of did podcasts together and a couple of lives, and
I've seen
eventually kind of got the balls to kind of reach out to Dan and say, look, I've got these ideas for like my Made by James brand, would you want to collaborate on them? And when I say collaborate, what I kind of just put ideas together. It's all paid work. It's not free. So anybody who's thinking there's some free shit going on here, I pay them to do the work. Do you know what I mean? That's the only way it's going to work. So I kind of said, look, these are my ideas. I love tattoo art. I really kind of showed them some of their work that I liked and kind of put like a little brief together, and then basically just said, go wherever you want with this information. And they came back and absolutely smashed it. I was looking for some variations of type. I love, obviously, tattoo roses, robins. I've got 2 robins tattooed on my chest. Nice. So there's a little robin wearing a little Made by James hat in the top.
Let me see the robins.
I love it. Yeah, I love them. Robin's my favorite. But yeah, and I think, that's, for me, it was a huge admiration for them as a company and a crew. And basically this collaboration was a dream that I never thought would happen. I would never have the balls to reach out to them. They probably never want to work with me. But obviously, it was just put myself out there, ask them. Obviously it wasn't like, can you work for me? We kind of built a relationship up prior to that. And, I would classify, them as good friends now, which is, for me, fuck all the clients, fuck all the whatever it is, being able to call like Lincoln Design Co. good mates of mine is the pinnacle of my design dream, to be fair. So
that's something that's so cool about Pentool Pals. For me and Cam, at least, we've just been able to talk with such cool people like you, and the long list of amazing artists that we've had prior as well. This is a dream for us. And
we'll have friendships forever now.
I hope so.
And that's the point.
Really, I hope so, James. I hope that we keep in touch, and just like everyone else before, like me and Cam, I've been so stoked on just having you guys on, sharing ideas, doing this whole thing. And because before we were doing Pentool Pals, we were just doing art, and it was just by ourselves, and we were just talking to clients, and that was the day to day for us. And now we look forward to these weeks where we get to chat with you. We get to chat with all these talented artists, and it's like, this is what the design community is about. It's sharing ideas, sharing processes. Being better artists, having fun. Having fun while we're doing.
It was vomited.
It kind of looked like.
Having fun during all of it. It's way better this way.
But it's like the reason that this happened. I don't know how it happened. I think we were DMing, and it was like, should we just jump on the podcast? And I think this is what I mean. A conversation can spark anything. Do you know what I mean? And I think for anybody that is listening, don't be shy of reaching out to anybody, because if they've got any humanity or decency about them, they're not going to ignore you.
Exactly.
I mean, don't expect to kind of reach out
them with messages.
Don't go to like Gary Vee, for example, and just expect to get like a phone call from him tomorrow. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But, if you want to ask a question or kick up I have some of my best friends now. I've made friends from Instagram, and through social media, and through getting to know each other and being on each other's podcasts. like you say, but putting yourself out there, beautiful things happen when you kind of drop your guard.
Yeah.
You know, because what we do is we think of the worst, or they're not going to get back to me. There's no point, or they might not like me, or blah 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 blah. You know, I don't know if you guys know Tom Ross at all. Tom Ross, he's basically a very cool dude based in the UK. Like we met his company Design Cuts, and we just started chatting, you know, a couple of years ago, and then we did a few more kind of live sessions together with his company. And that he's kind of like a business coach, and he kind of helped me do some stuff. I did some branding for him, and then 4 weeks ago I was at his wedding. Do you know what I mean? And that all happened. Wow. That all happened through one DM on Instagram.
Hell yeah,
that's awesome.
That's sick.
Yeah. So that's I mean that's the way you got to look at it. And it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna spark with everybody, but you're not gonna spark with anybody if you don't say hello. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So,
unless you're Benny Gold, because we're gonna be best friends one day. Benny.
I want to be friends with him too. Yeah.
You hear me, Benny? I love your stuff. I've been buying it for years.
Yeah. Be my friend. Be my friend. You should get a Be My Friend Benny t-shirt.
Yeah, that dude. I think he was
he's a rock star.
He was one of the first graphic designers that kind of that I looked at as a rock star, you know. And then with that, you know, I got to, you know, familiar with like Draplin and all the Dan and stuff.
I mean that crew, kind of that generation, that kind of, you know, who are kind of like the mid 40s now, you know, smashing like some of the pioneers, I would say, of what we have now fallen in love with. Yeah, you know, but I think before that there was quite a lot of stuffiness. Yeah, you know, quite corporate, boring, where they just went, let's fuck shit up, you know, skate culture, doing basically just creating stuff that was just hadn't been seen before. As you say, like Benny Gold, Draplins, and all the rest of them. It's like, wow, you know, that's who I want to be. You know,
for sure. I've actually met Benny Gold. I went up to his shop when he closed it. And,
did you follow him? Did you follow him for a week before?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Yeah, no, I saw that he was closing his shop, and I was like, there was no other opportunity that I'd have if I don't go up to San Francisco and go to this shop party. And he was the nicest fucking guy. He sat with me. So I showed up early to his shop, you know, early in the day. He told me, come back for the party. I went back for the party, and him and I, we sat there and talked for like 20 minutes about, you know, the design, his experience, my experience. And it felt weird because I told him, I was like, I have the same story as basically everybody else, man.
Yeah. But you were just wearing a t-shirt with his face on it.
Yeah, totally.
He says, you come back for the party, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. But I mean, that's the thing, but again, like putting yourself out there, you know, and doing that, taking that, not as a risk, but go, you know, I want to do that. I want to meet him. I'm going to fucking go and make that happen.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
I think that's what some people are starting to lack is like, you can't just sit on Instagram and expect shit to happen or get work. You've got to put your work, your thoughts, your ideas, yourself out into the world, because some of that shit will stick somewhere. But it's the access of everybody, you know, it's not like, I mean, I had to kind of pick up the yellow pages when I was like 16, 17 to go and figure out the number for like the local hairdresser. Do you know what I mean? But now everybody is so accessible, you know, but you know, that, and they say, I mean, you can go on to all of my idols. I can go and follow their life. I can do that, and
Isn't
I can message them. I mean, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's fucking weird. But you know, and I think that's why, you know, you shouldn't be too involved in social media, because there is a life outside of it.
100%.
So, but yeah, you know, you have access to this information, you know, and these people, and you can be inspired by whatever you want. But like you say, you can't just, you know, if you want to make something happen, you've got to put in effort. You know, it's not just gonna, you know, drop on your lap kind of thing. You just got to put yourself out there. Great things happen.
Yeah. And I know we've been on for just a little bit over an hour, so we'll try to get this like to come to some sort
Yeah,
of.
'cause I'm fucking hungry. It's
Yeah,
8 o'clock, you know, I haven't eaten
go
yet.
get your pizza, dude.
I appreciate
Yeah,
the
I
time.
got to order
But
it.
Before we go, James, is there any sort of like last notes you want to touch on, or
And
No,
where
not-
can the
not-
people find you?
Yeah, I mean, just type in, luckily you can just type in Made by James and I
Hell
just
yeah.
pop up now, which is fantastic. So yeah, obviously YouTube, Instagram, I'm thinking about TikTok, but very quietly, and I'm probably not going to do it. So yeah, just anywhere. But if you want to reach me, you can find me. But the one thing I would kind of like to leave with a little bit is, firstly, thank you very much, chaps. We'll chat way more. Don't you worry about that.
Yes, please.
And also, for anybody that's struggling, you might have a bad client today, you might not have had work for a little while, but be patient. If you really, 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 really want to make something of yourself, you remember a career is like 40 years long. If you're lucky, let's say you start at 20 and you finish at 60, let's call it 40 years. Don't give up on your dreams year 1, 2, 3, 5, because there will be, I still have, rocky times, bad days, bad clients, it's not, this is why I try and talk about them on social media, because it's not this kind of pretty rainbow that everybody, you're just doing cool logos all the time. That's why, some of the clients don't like my logos and all the rest of it. So, do be patient, do persevere, because if you really, really want it, once you get through, like, the good times become more and more and more, the further and further you get, but you've got to earn that stuff. It doesn't just happen. So be patient and just, put effort in. Effort is free. There you go.
Dude, that was great. That was fantastic.
That's it. That's all I got. You don't need to get my book now. It's all done.
That's
No, we're
right.
still buying your
And
book.
anyone watching, make sure to follow, Made by James if you don't already. Keep your calendars marked for that November 16th day-ish, right?
Pooping myself,
And remember, his last name is
Martin, yeah, and I'm not the famous chef as well.
And dude, it's been epic talking with you, and really stoked to keep in touch.
Yeah, we'll be buddies forever now. Don't you worry about that. So,
I hope so.
Yeah, I appreciate you letting me on. I appreciate you letting me go to get my pizza. And I will take a picture of it and send it to you later. It's gonna be great.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you for being a pal, James.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Nah, anytime. Thanks, chaps.
Thank you for being a pal.
Hey pals, and thanks for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and share our video. We'll be putting new episodes up every Friday, and if this is your first time joining us today, we got plenty more to show. So go back and see the whole catalog we have before you, and thanks for being a pal.